What if I told you that customers who barely use your product can be more valuable than power users? I discovered this by accident when 80 people bought my SaaS in 2 minutes during the webinar. They paid, they stayed, but they weren't active. You probably think every customer should be engaged, testing features, giving feedback. I thought that too, and also all the churn data. Today, I'll show you the hidden psychology of emotional buyers versus rational buyers, and why one type churns at 20% while the other barely churns at all. The trick is all about when you lock them in. Get the timing wrong and they'll leave every single month. December 12th, 2024, I'm sitting at my desk watching a webinar from a product, DM Champ. 500 people signed up, 300 showed up live. The affiliate running it is a business coach in the Netherlands. He's doing the pitch, 60 minutes of demo examples, showing what the product does. Then he hits them with the offer. $67 per month or $670 per year. I'm watching my Stripe dashboard and then it happens. Boom, $20,000 in revenue in less than 2 minutes. 80 customers. I'm celebrating. This is insane. This is faster than AppSumo. This is faster than anything I've ever done. But here's what I didn't know. I had just made 3 critical mistakes. And over the next 3 months, I was going to watch 20% of those customers leave. The third mistake is the one that changed everything I thought I knew about customers. So let me rerun for a second. How do we even get this affiliate? Well, one of our investors, not a VC, more like a team member who also brings in cash, covers the costs. He was in a business mastermind. The guy running it, a business coach, big audience in the Netherlands, really good at webinars. He loved DM Champ. It was a perfect fit for his audience. Now, full transparency, I'm not a fan of webinars. They feel cringe to me, very salesy, but I figured let's try it. So the day comes, he does the pitch, and like I said, 20K in 2 minutes. 80 customers, about 20 on the yearly plan and 60 on the monthly plan. I'm excited. I'm messaging the team. This is huge. And then reality hits. Mistake number 1, we were not prepared. We were using our own system, DM Champ, to book onboarding calls, but some features we still hadn't even built out yet. We were literally building the features while customers were waiting to onboard. Mistake number 2, it was the holidays. December, everyone on our team was on holiday. We couldn't actually do the calls. Customers were signing up, they're waiting, and we're scrambling. People were pissed, and I don't blame them. But here's what surprised me. They didn't leave. Despite us screwing up the onboarding, despite the holiday chaos, they stayed. That was my first clue that something was different about these customers. But then I started watching the churn. Month 1, about 20% of the monthly subscribers canceled. Month 2, another 15% gone. Month 3, another 10%. And I'm thinking, okay, this is bad. What's happening? So I started digging into the data, and this is where I made mistake number 3, the one nobody talks about. I assumed all customers are the same. Let me show you something. I pulled up the usage data for these webinar customers, and then I compared it to my AppSumo customers that we got from a few months earlier. The AppSumo buyers, they were all over the product, logging in multiple times a week, testing features, giving me feedback, engaging with support, classic power users. The webinar buyers, completely different. They'd log in once or twice, barely touch anything, and then just go quiet. No feedback, almost no support tickets. It was like they forgot they even had the product. And yet, the ones who stayed on yearly, they weren't churning, even though they weren't using it. This didn't make sense to me at first. Then I realized they're not the same type of buyer. I call this emotional buyer versus rational buyer framework. Rational buyers, like the AppSumo crowd, they found you through a deal. So they're constantly evaluating, is this worth it? Is there something better? They're testing your features against competitors, reading your docs, comparing options. Everything they do is based on logic and value. Emotional buyers, like the webinar crowd, they're completely different. They trust the person who recommended you. They're buying based on the pitch, the credibility, the emotion they felt in that moment. They're not testing anything. They're not comparing. They're buying the dream you painted for them. Now, here's the key insight. Emotional buyers are easier to retain if you know when to lock them in. Because here's what happens. During the webinar, they're pumped, they're excited, they hear the pitch, they see the vision, they buy. But what happens a month later? They're not excited anymore. The emotion faded. Now they're looking at their bank statements, going, wait, what's the $67 charge? And if they're on the monthly plan, every month they make the decision again. Should I keep this? That's the problem. Every month is a new decision, and every decision is a chance to churn. So here's what I learned. You have to lock emotional buyers into yearly pricing before the emotion fades. During the webinar, they're ready. That's when you get them on the yearly plan. Because once they pay for a year, the decision is made. They're committed. They're not reevaluating every month. Look at this. Monthly subscribers, they're making a decision 12 times a year. Yearly subscribers, they made a decision once and they're done. Now, I didn't get this perfect on the first webinar. Remember, 60 out of 80 customers went monthly. That was a mistake on our part. But here's what we did to fix it. A 6-month upgrade offer. After about 6 months, we reached out to every monthly subscriber still with us. He said, hey, you've been with us for 6 months. You clearly see the value. Upgrade to yearly and we'll give you a discount. And it worked. A lot of them converted. Why? Because by month 6, they'd already made the decision to stay 6 months. At that point, yearly felt like a no-brainer. So here's a system I built from this. I call it the emotional buyer retention system. First, you need to identify what type of buyer you're dealing with. If they came from a trusted referral or a webinar, they're probably an emotional buyer. If they found you through a deal site or they're comparing you to competitors, they're rational buyers. Once you know that, you match your pricing strategy to their psychology. With emotional buyers, you have to push yearly pricing hard during the peak emotion moment. That's when they'll commit. With rational buyers, monthly is totally fine because they're going to evaluate the value every month anyway. And if it's worth, they'll stay. Third thing, and this is critical, you have to reduce the number of decision points for emotional buyers because every time they have to decide again, they might churn. That's why you lock them into yearly pricing. And if they went monthly, you send them that upgrade offer at the 6-month mark when they've already proven they see the value. And the last piece, and I learned this the hard way, scale your operations before you scale your sales. Don't launch a big promotion when your team is on a holiday. Don't try to onboard 80 customers when you haven't even built your onboarding system yet. Build the infrastructure first, then do the big push. So let's get back to the question I asked at the beginning. What if customers who barely use your product can be more valuable than power users? Here's the answer. It depends on how you retain them. AppSumo buyers, they're active, they're engaged, they're testing everything, but they're also price sensitive. They came for the deal. Webinar buyers, they're quiet, they barely log in. But if you lock them into yearly pricing while the motion is high, they stay, they don't churn, they're committed. Both are valuable, but they're different species. And if you treat them the same, you'll lose the emotional bias every single month. That was my third mistake. I thought engagement equals retention. It doesn't, not for emotional buyers. For them, timing is everything. Lock them in while they're hot, before the emotion fades, before they start questioning the monthly charge. And if you miss that window, you're going to watch 20% and leave every month, just like I did. So if you take one thing from this video, not all customers are created equal. Rational buyers and emotional buyers need completely different retention strategies. If you want the full breakdown, how to find affiliates like the one who made me 20K, how to structure webinar offers, the exact 6-month upgrade email we sent, I built a guide called the Affiliate Partnership Playbook. It's free. Link is in the description. You get the outreach scripts, the webinar prep checklist, so you don't make my holiday mistake, and the customer psychology framework I just showed you. Grab it, test it, and if you apply this to your next affiliate partnership, you skip the mistakes I made and keep the 20K you earn. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.